Join in for the second part of my interview with John Effland, Matisay at Lake Siskiyou, where we talk more about the little people, the nature spirits and the elementals, and we dive into John's vast experience with these beings, and we'll hear more from him today. So tune in to the rest of this.
Some of these, like the badges that you've gotten, is it a type of initiation where you're like accessing a deeper level of experience with the nature spirits through each badge that you get?
I don't think so. It's more of communities,
Okay.
different levels. Like that one, that badge was green, the chevron like, and it was very much, so for the plant Davis. And maybe they all can see it, you know, because the stone devas, the earth devas, I call them, to me they're like gnomic beings. I mean, that's the archetype. They love me, and because I work with stone as a stonemason, so they love me, and that's in there somewhere. They see that instantly and know, so maybe there's one for that. But I got one that was really surprising from, I don't think I've ever shared this, from who I call Pacifica, the like great mother deity of the Pacific Ocean. And I was doing something and honoring the ocean, and she showed up, and it's like a pass into Disneyland, you know. And so it was more of communities. The levels comes with your own personal practice, I think. And some people, they don't have to practice. It's already fully open and developed.
Right.
And for others, but anytime we do spiritual practice where we're healing our past and clearing our limitations and opening into greater aspects of who we are on that journey of evolution, personal evolution, we carry more light, more energy, we get brighter, and that's, to me, that's part of that levels.
Okay. Cool.
But I'm sure there's more to it than that. There's because it's multidimensional.
Yeah. Do you feel, so there's different neighborhoods within, like, you know, you're walking through the forest, there's the plant and tree kingdom, and then maybe you're in a rocky area and you get more of these earth, like, how do you break down the different categories of elementals?
I tried initially to come up with categories or to break it into categories, and read all these books and what other people are doing, and ended up throwing up my hands going, that's just kind of banging your head against the wall. I don't think it fits categories in terms of that word. I tend to experience them in neighborhoods.
Okay.
And then there's different levels, like they have certain levels where they interact with each other, and then at some point they only interact so far. And I had a couple of gnome friends that I still see from time to time. I became very close to at a very special place around here in Mount Shasta, and one of them, he says his name is Panoply. That's what the name that, it's not his real name. His real name is like incomprehensible, you know. But that's the name, and I love that name because it carries the lightness of his energy. And he would always show up when I walked in those woods and hold my hand. And then he would take me on little treasure hunts and show me special things about the woods and different trees or little places where they hung out, or a special mushroom, or always some surprise, like a little kid playing in the woods. And then he was always there. And then there was another one he introduced me to, Spencer, who in my mind's eye looked just the same, but that what I see again is just archetype. Okay. It's not what they really look like. They're beings of light and energy. But the other one, Spencer, his name was Spencer. You got Panoply and then Spencer. It's like, where did that come from? But Spencer, his role and his ability, he could fly all the way over. So he could jump from neighborhood to neighborhood. He could go from the valley up onto the mountain in Mount Shasta and back in an instant. He could go shoot all over.
Okay.
And although they seemed very much alike, they had different roles, responsibilities, and abilities. And so Spencer could bring news of something that was happening on a mountain, or if there was a forest fire, so I tend to make these relationships, and they show up, the ones that make that connection. Whereas I'm sure other people, they go in and they see just a whole forest full of them.
Yeah.
I can sense that at times, but often it's just the one that is like the contact. And then that contact sometimes, it's like, it's not a hierarchy in the sense of like responsive, or in sense of bosses, you know.
Okay.
But there's, ones have bigger areas of responsibility than others. Some have little tiny, just maybe responsible for just the growing, the littlest tiny elemental being, a spark of light, of energy, of intelligence, can just be helping a grass blade to grow.
Okay.
And they're really devoted and focused on that.
Okay.
And then others could be the meadow. Others, they're all regulating and balancing energies, communicating, working like it's really more like a symphony.
Okay.
And they all have their role. And some of them will have roles where they wander they're much bigger, huge, and they could have a whole responsibility of a whole, like big area of several mountains and valleys, or a state, or a county, they don't have, I don't know how they break it up. So depending on how you want to interact and what permission you want, you can say, hey, I want to know who's the big boss around here. It's whether it's kind of masculine or feminine deva, and with the right intention and openness and integrity, and they'll, potentially they'll show up.
Interesting.
And guide you. And then the real important thing is to always do what they ask.
Okay.
Always to honor them and respect what they do. I've been out hiking through the woods and even bushwhacking, trying to get to the top of this sacred place, and all of a sudden you just hit a wall of like, stop. And if you push through that and ignore and break, it's like with people, if you cross boundaries, that energy stays in you, they're not going to respond to you.
Okay.
So that's part of building that rapport, is respecting the integrity of places.
Okay.
Especially sacred ones, and especially honoring they have jobs to do.
Okay. So can you imagine a forest or a meadow or a lake without elementals? Like, is that even possible to...
That's a good question.
Or does that even exist anywhere?
Well, that's a really good question, because it brings me to, I've often wondered, in the history of the earth, the timeline of the earth, how long have they been here?
Okay.
Because to answer your question is, I don't know.
Okay.
My initial reaction or response would be, I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
They're a part of the fabric of life.
Okay.
But anything's possible. And I often wonder, because they're linked to humanity and our evolution.
Okay.
And yet the ancient ones, the stone beings, the apus, the spirits of the mountains, and they've been here way before, humanity showed up.
Okay.
So they carry perspectives and information that we don't, that is very valuable.
Okay.
So I don't know the answer.
So John, I wanted to ask you about how this information about elementals is coming into the collective consciousness now, and kind of the how you see it emerging in this time, 2025, and in recent history. What is your understanding about how this information is coming into the collective consciousness?
Gently is the first word, the first thought. It's coming into our consciousness gently, slowly, kind of trickling in, going to grow as humanity evolves into the remembrance and recognition that we're spiritual beings, beings of love, of light, created of light, the light of creation. Literally, we are, one of my favorite sayings for the evolution of humanity and just the presence of humanity is we are the natural extension of the creative expression of God. And indeed, that's what the natural world is. That's what the earth is. That's what all of creation is. The natural extension of the creative expression of life, of God, what we call God, all that is. And as we explore that in meditation and spiritual practice, in taking our focus away from the external world and going in and experiencing all that is within, deeper and deeper, over and over, across the world, across peoples, across boundaries, across religions. When we experience it that way, it's experience of love, of unity, of peace, of harmony. That is the nature of things. And that includes the natural world, and that includes the invisible world that supports the natural world, the Devic realm, the realm of the nature spirits and the elemental beings, as well as our kind of higher Devic realm of spirit guides and angels, the angelic realms, and the realms of the great masters, and all that we are and have forgotten. Did that answer your question? I forgot the question.
Yeah. Just like how this is coming up now
Yeah.
for people, because there's obviously, I'd say obviously a global spiritual awakening happening right now. And how do you think that this information about the elementals and the experience of connecting with the elementals is coming into the collective and is going to be fundamental in terms of how we go forward as a collective, as a human collective, with more and more connection with the elementals?
Well, I think how it's coming in now is through kind of trailblazers, just like there's trailblazers in different areas of life, of spiritual evolution and spiritual teachers. There's trailblazers in science. There's trailblazers in every aspect of life. And there's trailblazers of people who have an affinity and a remembrance of that. And so it's starting with them and people that when they hear about it, you just know. You just go, oh yeah, I know there's something there. That's the beginning of the remembrance. And then it's an invitation to open and to learn the inner landscape of life, of within us, and to start to open up to higher dimensions of being beyond just the physical. And as we do that, often the ones that are more connected to the higher realms are where we start first. But these realms in nature and of the elemental kingdom and the natural nature spirits, this Delvic realm, it's a higher realm as well. It's a higher vibrational frequency of this physical. And so as we kind of open and explore and raise our frequencies and our vibrations of what's possible, our perspectives, and to what's possible, slowly we will start to experience more and more these realms, and the goodness and the intelligence, and how they can support us, because we are a part of the natural world. They are here to work with us as well as us work with them. And in my inner remembrance and knowing is they are going to be able to help us solve so many of the problems, so much of the harm we have done to the earth, pollution and the waters and the rivers and the oceans and the land. They, as we evolve and recognize and begin to work and cooperate with them, they're going to be able to help us clean up stuff like instantly or very fast. And it's an untapped whole new world in a way. Just as we're going to have advances in technology and in energy, and we all know it's coming, free energy. This just makes sense. We don't know when, we don't know how, but as humans evolve into using the full capacity, which is what all the great masters have come, men and women come to show us of all the traditions of the world. This is our heritage, this is who we are, this is what is possible. And we throw off the shackles and ignorance of the past and step into that truth, greater truth of who we are. Step by step, these realms are going to open to us, and they're going to be available to us to work with us and support us, and we can work and support with them. And I think it's might be a while, but it's coming, and it's when it comes, it's going to come like it's going to snowball.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate your time today and sharing with us about the elementals. I think this is so important for people to get this information. And if you like this video and you want to hear more like this, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps get this out to more people, and I look forward to providing more content like this going forward. Thanks for tuning in.
Beautiful. Thank you.